We pick up sort of shortly after where we left off before. Guy is sort of a part of the family, and or at least trying to fit in with this family, and they come across another family that is slightly more modernized. Another family that have figured out a lot of the things that Guy is obsessed with. And they're called the Bettermans, and the Bettermans are sort of take the Croods on a journey that they certainly weren't expecting, and a journey that exposes them to a whole new world.
Literally.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, I'm not, I'm not playing like a pianist or something, the classical pianist or something. I mean, it's a very simple, fun, it's a pleasure to do, because it's just like, for me, it's, you hop into a recording booth and you just let your imagination run wild. And, you throw everything up against the wall, they pick out the best bits and then animate them and create a whole world around it. And I'm consistently fascinated and blown away by the ingenuity and genius of these animators, and, how they take really rough concepts that are just transmitted to them via dialogue and create whole scenescapes and worlds around that. And visual comedy and all these sorts of things that are really hard to do in live action, let alone in animation. So it's always pretty wild to see that process. I don't know. I haven't yet seen the final film, so I don't know. I know that the director had mentioned that a lot of the stuff I wrote just on the day made it into the movie. So I'll be anxious and excited to see what that stuff is and how it looks. Joel's perfect for this. I mean, I don't think directing an animated movie is that far off of directing a live action film. So, Joel is on character, he's on story, he's on point, he's always looking for the emotion underneath the humor. And I don't think that you can successfully have one without the other. You have to balance the comedy with heart and emotion. So he's great at all that stuff. And he's like a heat-seeking missile for ideas and threads that are really going to work well, not just for my character, but for the whole movie. So I loved working with Joel. I would be very, very cautious about those bananas. Those bananas may end up getting your butt beat. Yeah. I believe the Punch Monkey language, if memory serves, is the Punch Monkeys communicate via physical violence. I mean, they communicate through punching. Which is really just a terrible way to have a conversation. It's a conversation that you want to keep as brief as humanly possible. So yes, Guy is tasked with interpreting this language for the Punch Monkeys. So he gets walloped quite a bit. Yeah, I think that's a credit to Joel. He really takes an expectation, comes 90 degrees to it, and gives the audience a totally fresh perspective. I think that's so important. It's also very, to me, is very modern. It's a modern take on it. Anytime you can sidestep a cliche or a stereotype is a good thing. Yeah, I still haven't seen the final product, but the recording that stuff was really fun. I mean, it's super energetic. It's wild how a simple 2-hour recording session can feel a bit like a marathon. That's why they make them sort of frequent and brief all at once, because you can't your voice goes after a couple of hours. I mean, it's so it's super energetic, super fun. I love all the sequences, but that sequence in particular toward the third act of the movie is like high octane. It was just a fastball of joy, and I think that's something that is very exciting, particularly in the year 2020. It's both. I mean, they're filming you for a very good reason. They're filming you because they're capturing your physicality. So it's always wild to see that go up on the screen, to see an animated character who you don't necessarily look anything like, but that character has your mannerisms, has your facial expressions. Of course it has the voice, but you don't expect that other half. So I love that. And I love that anything goes. I love that you can sit in that booth and talk to Joel and say, hey, like, what, maybe when I fall off the cliff, this and this and this happens as a result. And, he may have an idea that betters that, or he may say, no, that's exactly what we're going to do. And then they animate to that. It's a real, such a stage for imagination, unlike even a live action movie, because anything is possible in animation. So really great. Yeah, I don't, you leave it to Joel to sort of steer the ship and tell you in any given moment what's happening, with the other characters. But you also get a pretty good idea because there's a lot of storyboards. There's a lot of rough sketches, what could or could not happen. You pivot in the middle of a recording session. Sometimes you come up with an idea and then they follow that string and will create a whole new sequence. So, but I love Belt. Belt's a lot of fun. Seeing a lot of kids out there with Belt toys and that kind of stuff. So something's working. I just hope that they what they take away from the film. I hope they just enjoy it. I think it's like a year where you want to have some joy. More than anything, it's nice to see something that doesn't really express any sort of high level of cynicism or anything like that. There's just when you see a movie like this, it's just about joy. It's just about the experience of togetherness. It's about family. It's about values that matter. And I think that that's pretty damn great. Especially after this somewhat torturous year we're in.